It's like a bank, but with an M, bro. Me being a back manager on the internet. Me being a back manager on the internet. I have come here to make all bankers poor and to make all bankers rich. I have come here to make all bankers poor and to make all bankers rich. Fucking rich, bro.
What up, Vigilantes? Guys, the biggest, baddest thing that is happening in all of crypto is a creation from, you know him already, Jack Liu himself, and inspired by Arthur Hayes. And then I see Bitcoin Magazine behind it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the first synthetic stablecoin on BTC. Now that's a mouthful. And look, guys, usually when I get on this show, I bring the guests and I'm very candid with them. I'm like, yo, is there anything you want to talk about? You know, I'm very open. Is there anything? And then I kind of prep him. This is what I'm going to say. Not Jack Liu. He's ready to go. He's like, let's just do it now, man. Straight up. And how are you? How are you, Jack? How have you been?
It's good. How long has it been since we did a show from the trilogy?
Dude, it's probably been it's good 6 months, right? It's what we said. Every 6 months, I think it's happening. Another 6 months.
Yeah. Who knew back then? I had no idea what Athena was back then. I had no idea I was going to return to BTC and build another product. So life is good this way. You never know what's coming the next day. Yeah. How have you been doing?
Dude, I've been doing great. I'm a BAMKer 100%. As soon as it came out, the Crypto Vigilante family newsletter, they got the lowdown. They were, in my opinion, first to market. We were, same thing. It's almost like history is repeating itself, right? Crypto Vigilante subscribers got ORDI, like at the fucking beginning, which is beautiful, and also Bitmap. So it was, so yeah. I mean, we're all boomers, but we're just trying to keep up, bro. What can I say?
I mean, this is the first time. This is the first time I'm hearing about it because you and I didn't talk through this whole process. We were very busy. I'm sure you're very busy. So I didn't even know until now that you guys were involved. So that's great.
No. It's because, and I was about to tell you this before we started, and then you're like, "Now let's just go fucking live." So what happened is that one of my analysts, he is a beast, bro. He's a banker, like traditional banker vibe, accountant, like financial guru, and he's a big crypto, like Bitcoin OG, right? Old school Bitcoiner. And a lot of things he wrote a lot of things that were very influential in the early Bitcoin days that if I were to mention the name of these writings, it would dox his previous identity. He goes by another name now as Mr. Z. The guy's a monster, bro. He's a monster. And Mr. Z called Luna. He was the one dude when Luna was everybody. He was like, he called it like 3-4 months before it crashed. He said, this is what's going to happen. And he broke it down. Then people presented him other stable coins that were algorithmically pegged, like the Haven protocol, which is actually a crypto note fork of Monero, but a stable coin. And he's like, no, dude, stay away from that because it's algo pegged. It's like Luna. It's the same thing. So this dude formed a reputation around him as being like a sensei when it comes to stable coins. So, I mean, he hit it hard, bro. And then Jeff Berwick, my business partner, he came in and he bought the bottom of Luna right before the bounce. And so, just a classic move in buying a distressed asset, made fucking millions. It was like a very beautiful moment for us as a family here, the Crypto Vigilante. So when BAMK came out, I'm like, whoa, I can't, this is something that we have like the gurus here on stable coins. So I have to step back and I'm like, Mr. X, Mr. A, Mr. Z, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? And I'm just feeding them all of the information. Arthur Hayes, everything that Arthur Hayes wrote on the Knock a Dollar, on his articles, Dust and Crust, part 1, part 2. Like,
you read that, huh?
Oh, fuck yeah, bro. We went deep, man. We were into it, dude. And so I'm like with Mr. Z, just going back and forth. Like, what do you think? And he's like, and then I you're very busy. I'm trying to get you to, him to DM you. And then he's like, no, you know what, Raph, I'm figuring this shit out on my own. I'm figuring it out. And then the one thing I thought he was gonna come back and like just just destroy it because this is what he did to Luna. And he came back and he's like, bro, all of the questions that I had, I've been able to answer myself. Like he said, the fundamentals are awesome and the pumpamentals are even more badass. And it's almost like I can obviously he says I can see more into the future, that I can analyze it even more in depth into the future. But as far as I can see right now, green light. And I'm like, holy shit, man. So right away, my whole team is like, boom. So, right after BAMK came out, we had last month's Crypto Vigilante newsletter feature BAMK, to all the subscribers. So it was awesome. I mean, I didn't even know who was behind BAMK. I didn't know who was behind it because, like, it was
true. I didn't share that either. Yeah.
I didn't know who was behind it. And I thought, I was like, all right, it must be Arthur Hayes. BitMax. Sounds like this is a BitMax play. Cool, dude. BitMax is doing something. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Jack Liu's talking about this a little too much. And I'm like, holy shit, it's Jack Liu. So what's up, Jack, man? What's going on, bro? What happened?
I'm good.
What's going on? What happened here?
I mean, I don't know what happened here, but really opportunity meets preparation or something. It's like, for some reason or another, I never really set out in my career to make a stable coin, but along the journey, there was a conversation with Tether about, hey, does OKCoin want to get involved in Tether? They ended up working with Bitfinex, etc.
You were there. You were talking with them in the early days.
I was there in 2015. I was the guy who was the mid curve. I had, now I look kind of casual, but I just finished banking. I was there to kind of help, crypto grow up or something using institutional experience. And I was just telling them like, hey, look, this Tether thing looks kind of like a joke. Like, it's not going to work. Who needs this? At the time, the big crypto players that had banking and had users and fiat rails, they were kind of like looking at the smaller Cryptsy, Poloniex as like little jokes, kind of like, okay, local Bitcoin, like it's not real. That's not what's going to bring Bitcoin to the mainstream. So you come out with this Tether thing with some, don't know where the bank account is, maybe in Taiwan, somewhere else. And it's like, yeah, we're not going to be associated with something like Tether. And then it for 2 years, it didn't really grow and then boomed, right? And then when I joined Circle, I did it for my great friend who's now running CMS. We were in touch. We used to be at Kraken together. And, just do the Circle trading desk. I had no idea when I decided to join them that they were in the middle of acquiring Poloniex. I had no idea that a few months after the acquisition, they decided to put the pieces together with the licensing and the scale and creating a USDC token. And so I was very involved in the rollout of the USDC in terms of, at the time, getting it onto major exchanges was very, very important. How do you get on Binance? How do you get onto, OKX and Huobi and all that kind of stuff. And so just stablecoins just kept, crossing paths in my life. Even at OKCoin when I was there, we made a remittance network called OKLink. This is kind of like a Jack way of doing like a Ripple or like a Stellar, but under the governance of a major company, it wasn't like we were able to do like a token. Like OMG, Omise Go, they did a token for a similar idea. It pumped to like 1 billion, 2 billion, but being more conservative, because at the time, China was still hadn't banned Bitcoin yet, so you were really want to be cautious and want to make sure that you're in good standings with the Chinese government, etc. So don't want to push too many boundaries, like creating stable coins, dollar stable coins. But even within that OKLink network, which today the brand is used for a block explorer, OKLink was about linking up remittance companies and linking up payments companies. And there was, if you Google this, you'll find an OKD, an OK dollar. It was just like, at the time, it wasn't clear that, did you have to whitelist every single address that ever touches a stable? Or could you let only the entry point and the redemption point be whitelisted and let it be created and moved around on every single MetaMask wallet, every single Bitcoin wallet? It wasn't clear. So the approach at the time was hyper conservative, and the OK dollar was just limited to a whitelisted group of remittance licensed companies. And even despite that, it had like 1 million or 2 million in circulation at the peak. So, every single where you go, it's like stable coins are there. But, once I left the umbrella of these big companies, that's not my strong suit to kind of do the big company stuff. And then it became like I was probably a little too early to the on-chain Bitcoin stuff. You couldn't do that on BTC. Casey hadn't come out with this Ordinals protocol yet. And so the only UTXO-based blockchain that we could work on was this thing called BSV, right?
Right.
Big block Bitcoin. And, my network in the years I accumulated in Bitcoin in the crypto industry was very much Bitcoiners and people who worked on Bitcoin projects. I wasn't that involved in the Ethereum community. So we just thought, okay, well, we're building non-custodial products. You've used a lot of those things, RelayX, etc. Very non-custodial, very on-chain. So actually, I thought my days of doing something like a stablecoin were very much behind me because it was a very mature industry. USDC grew up to something like 30, 50 billion TVL. Tether just recently this year hit 100 billion. So that's no playground for an on-chain dev team that's nimble, that's smart. Our guys are just like very good at, let's make a little app for Bitmap. Let's make, a little or swap marketplace because the community needs it. And then even that, kind of got disrupted as things went on. So what really had this timeline intersect was the fact that Athena came out, and I was caught sleeping at the wheel. Obviously, they came out last December. They were raising funds last summer in 2023 summer, but that's around the time we were doing Bitmap, right? I wasn't following the Ethereum ecosystem. The funny thing is I knew about Arthur's blog even last summer, but I didn't connect the dots that NACA dollars on Bitcoin, which his blog post is about, was related to Athena, which I thought was some kind of degenomic kind of Ethereum stablecoin.
Mm-hmm.
But when they actually went public with the ENA token, and there's another wave of obviously press, it became clear that, these guys are Ethereum guys that took the inspiration from Arthur and implemented it on Ethereum. Right there, I'm thinking, well, there's the original post is about Bitcoin, and we can now actually bring it to Bitcoin. And because of Athena's great success, we just wanted to build everything just like Athena. But then as you get deeper and deeper, you realize, what did they work on? What did they spend month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4 working on? You're like, okay, well, this is great. What they're doing is great, but it's going to take us some time to do what they do. And there's still some risks inside this model because it's hedging on centralized exchanges, etc. We had a show about FTX, remember this, about centralized exchanges. So I didn't really like that as much. So, and it also is going to take a bit of time, even though it's much simpler than doing the rollout in banking with actual traditional money backing it. We thought the opportunity was to go to market first. So when the idea truly crystallized was when we said, okay, why don't we use Athena as the backing itself to buy time and allow us to focus on the on-chain development and the on-chain network effects and distribution. And then we can go potentially directly from the Athena backing to on-chain perpetuals and just skip the centralized exchange step altogether. That's when the whole team got a lot more excited and allowed us to roll this out like a Bitmap, like a ORDI, like a Dogi, where the community can get involved. So it's really exciting that amidst kind of meme coin culture for most of this year and inscribe and show culture, that you can now take a lot of inspiration from that and try to build what will we think become a extremely key, maybe the key primitive that will be the foundation for a lot of Bitcoin DeFi to come.
Dude, it's freaking awesome. Look, okay. All right, guys, in the description below, you're going to find all of the write-ups from Arthur Hayes. You're going to find Aximade's link to all of the resources for BAMK. You're going to find what's his name? Fire Chat. He wrote 2 articles on it. You're going to find the Mark Jeffries interview, the Block Runner interview, and you're going to find a bunch of different Twitter spaces. So the nitty gritty that has been spoken about ad hominem as to how BAMP works. we'll touch on the most important things here, but I want to get it deeper with Jack because we have a very similar background. So I understand Jack from a let's say a more our Bitcoin journey has been very similar. So I want to get a little deeper with him because I really want to talk about something that I find that he, after Bitoshi Nakamoto, Bitoshi Nakamoto, in my opinion, stumbled into it. But Jack, I think, and I'm putting words in your mouth here. I think you defined it. And you defined something. It's an execution modality where you have now there is a go-to formula that I can point to, which is BAMK, and say, that is how we create in Web3 within Bitcoin. What am I talking about? All right, first and foremost, Jack, you're focusing on liquidity, network effect, and growth incentives that happen within Bitcoin. Everything is native to Bitcoin. I want to talk about that because I think that is very important. You just focused on how Athena brought in institutional money. Everything was from outside, exterior. And the extreme would be Tether, Circle. Everything is outside the blockchain. I've always wanted to see it happen all within the blockchain. And this is the first time I see it happening completely grassroots on chain. Can you please speak to that to our audience? Because I think this is, guys, this may not seem as a big deal because most people are very caught up in the functionality of the things that they see, like the immediate effects of what is of the asset that is being used. But if we step back and zoom out, we see that this changes marketing, network effects to market strategies, deployment. It changes funding structures to the point that I could even say, dude, this is the end. This is the beginning of the end of venture capital. What do you say, Jack?
Yeah, I can see that. So I think first phase of crypto was like, let's do a token for gaming. Let's do a token for a stable coin. Let's do a token for this and tokenomics and this. But you were doing a token where the token runs on the blockchain, but who owns the economic interest of the token? It's almost like, previously before the year 2000, people were funding all kinds of internet startups. They were making a website. Then the app store comes out with the iPhone. And now let's fund a whole bunch of apps like a Uber, like a WhatsApp. But it's just the app itself is no longer on a website, it's in a phone. And now it's like the token runs on the blockchain. But who was funding it behind the scenes? It's the same people. Andreessen Horowitz funding the internet PC era. Andreessen Horowitz funding the Apple apps. Andreessen Horowitz funding the crypto companies. And so what happened was the actual operations, like the playbook, in terms of how to run a business, you're still reading the same source materials. What is Y Combinator recommending me to do? What is Lean Startup recommending me to do? You're just doing it on the blockchain or on AI or whatever sector you end up, robotics that you end up choosing. And so the idea that the crypto users would get something from the project was kind of like an afterthought. It was like, well, at PayPal, we gave people, $5 for sharing a link. Every time you share a link, you get $5. Okay, $5 store credit. Okay, cool. You get a free ride at Uber if you refer a friend. So then when they start from the traditional world and they just try and apply a little bit to the crypto world, it becomes, oh, okay, well, you use my app, I'll give you a little airdrop. But I'm the king. Like, I'm the builder, I'm the founder, I'm the VC, I'm the king. I decide when you get your airdrop. I decide who qualifies for the airdrop. And if you don't claim it within 30 days, then I get to decide, oh, sorry, you don't get the airdrop anymore. So in terms of that power structure, that the higher level org structure, not just beyond your own team, like who's the CEO, who's the CTO, who's the customer support, like the ecosystem of what you're building, that org structure never changed with most of these projects in crypto. And this is why meme tokens took off. It was like, well, we don't want to be part of this game. Like, can we get more of the fair launch type of game? You know? So when you say that venture capital is going to be disrupted, you have to ask, like, why does venture capital exist in the first place? Because clearly there's something of value here. Because if you point to the Zimbabwe economy, they don't have venture capital. How come they're doing worse than the US economy or the Western economy? It's because venture capital have a role. But now the venture capital backed economy will increasingly do worse than the pure on-chain no VC economy. That's like the new country, the new nation state. This is what, Balaji calls network state, right? So, and why is that? It's because previously you didn't have a coordination mechanism. If you have an idea in your garage, you got to drive around the college campus, find a roommates who wants to work on this project with you. You got to go hire some people to come to a physical garage or working space with you. And you got to work on the project for 2-3 years before you had a go-to market strategy. During this time, you got to pay for salaries, got to pay for office rental. No one knows what you're building. You got to pay for marketing. You got to pay for all these things. So if you didn't have access to venture capital, this business most likely just never gets started. You might be able to start a laundromat. You might be able to start a coffee shop, but you can't start a mass consumer or mass build that's going to cost 10, 20, $100 million. And so the beauty of capitalism was there's venture capital which will provide that for you. And then you will eventually be able to go public with the idea. This is how every company got off the ground, right? But what if markets began to form at the conception of the idea? Clearly, how you come up with the ideas, whether you're reading an article, like in this case, the Arthur Hayes Dust on Crust, or you're going for a walk and the idea comes to your head, there was no labor cost or capital cost to the creation of this idea. And if you can share this idea, not via a Twitter post, not via whatever, not via your brand. Like I said, no one even knew that part of our team was behind BAMK this whole time. If you can just share the idea in essentially inscribing, deploying a ticker and letting anyone else who likes this idea participate without raising money from them. So you're under no obligation to even actualize the idea. You're just sharing the idea and saying, hey, I would like to commit a Bitcoin transaction, paying miners a one-time fee to lay claim to a little piece of this idea. If you would like to have a little piece of the idea, why don't you join us? And don't pay me, but pay the Bitcoin miners. So now there's a group of people that all are in this idea. But what then happens is, well, the reason why people needed salaries from the VCs in this company, again, remember, it took a long time to build, and you need a long time to find your customers via marketing, etc. Well, now all the interested people are meeting in the town square called the blockchain. So you already found your customers. You already found your best marketers. This is a natural self-selecting group of people in a way that's better than any kind of Google interview test where you're testing, can they solve this puzzle or whatever? Because the puzzle they really solved was they understood the idea. They were the small group of 50 people, 20 people, 100 people that understood this idea better than anyone else. And before, when you had the idea, you had to go file a patent because you were afraid that the David versus Goliath, the Goliath would come in and steal your idea. And so if you don't have VC funding or patents to lay claim to the idea, it would just, evaporate. But we saw this with Ordinals. There's actually nothing different between ORDI and the 9th token and the 200th token. It's the same token. But only one player gets to be first. And we saw that the first metaverse, Bitmap, the first JPEG collection, like a Bitcoin frog or no monkey like that, the first fungible token, dog, these kind of things, they're forming communities within hours or minutes or days of this idea being conceived. If that's the case, right, then you're liquid on this idea. The token that represents this idea, you're liquid on from the start, which means if I'm a developer, I'm super motivated because remember, I'm working with the same guys I've worked with for 5 years. I've always known these are the same most talented people ever. But why is it that they kind of, Jack, I don't really want to make this feature update. I got to go to the park today. I can't do it. Is because they don't see what is the reward at the end of the game. At that time, the innovation was you can make money on chain. So you make a feature update, you get users, they pay a little fee. But your company equity, your company stock, that was never really deployed. It was just like you make money, microtransactions, whatever on chain. But you weren't getting the bulk of what you were creating upfront. So like, obviously Tesla can make cars and make money every car that they sell. But they had a stock that was raising at billions of valuations before they ever produced a car. This is the point, is that, of course, we understand that after you make the car and you can get customers, you will get fees. But what is that apparatus that shapes the entire idea, the entire concept, not just a per customer fee? And so once you have this token, right, you have a level of motivation even beyond any of the best known practice of how to reward employees. Okay, give them a 1-year cliff, monthly vesting, and a huge equity grant from the options pool that is created with the board approval. Because that's still, and the funny thing is crypto companies have that same thing for their employees as well. Even though crypto moves much faster, cycles are happening. You're going through a full bull market and bear market in a 4-year cycle. But all the team members of most crypto companies are signing to a 4-year lockup with some vesting stuff. So if you contributed something radically amazing this week to one of these crypto companies that's VC backed, they don't say, here's all the tokens. You can dump them. You can sell them, go have a wedding. You cannot do that because your token still comes out after 1 year. And so then it becomes back to the corporate way of doing things. Like, I want to have staying power. I want to make sure, I stick around. I got to take it slow. So you're not cooking very fast. But if you have this like inscribed and everyone behind the idea, they're holding on to the final impression of the idea, that token. And if they cook something great, the market is directly able to say, I love what you just cooked. And the token price can just go up within 1 day. There's no limit to that. It's funny, I invested in a Japanese company that is called MetaPlanet, and they're becoming the MicroStrategy of Japan. And it's been a fabulous thing. And we went in on it together with Sora Ventures and with Bitcoin Magazine's UTXO fund. One of the days, if you look at this company, their stock had gone up, 30%. And then it became like a stable coin, just like stayed at that same price the whole time. I was Googling what's going on here. Why is it not going down or up? At first, you had to get used to like the hours in Japan is only trades between 9 and 3 p.m. But then it's like, that's why it's not moving. But then even between 9 and 3 p.m., it's like, it's not moving either. And you find out they have a limit of how much can go up per day.
Oh, wow.
So they halt trading if it hits more than 30%.
Wow.
And so it's like, what? How's this possible? And so just like almost like in VC land, if you have a seed stage, your valuation goes a little higher. You go do an A round, there's a B round. There's like a limit before you just dilute yourself more. But here, when you inscribe, like what happened to Bitmap went up 300x in like 2-3 months. Obviously, come down a lot since. With ORDI, it went up to 300x already at the time I made the potentially what people call the biggest financial mistake of my life, which is selling a whole bunch of ORDI at 10 cents. But versus the inscribed cost, it was already up 300x in a matter of days, right? So, or weeks or months, a couple months. So basically, this means that because of human potential in your mind, whether it's coming up with the idea or coming up with how to code the idea or coming up with how to mimetically spread the idea or how to make sure the idea is secure, because the human potential is unlimited, then what I come to realize is that the value capture mechanisms for these ideas are currently on-chain methods very limited. Because, oh, that guy in a Telegram chat contributed some great meme to my normal company. Let's say you had that. Well, you'd be like, well, is that like one meme worth me asking my lawyer for a $499 fee to add another person to the cap table? What's your email? What about they didn't see the email? They didn't sign the DocuSign. So all these tech things in Web 2, they were created to make it easier to do what you were doing in the boomer corporate world, which is like, oh, DocuSign is easy. Don't need to print it, mail it, just send a link. But you're ultimately still constructing a share registrar in the original world, which comes with a lot of friction. It is not real time. And you, before someone ever works for you, what is the two things you have to agree on? What is your equity package? And what is your salary per month? This is why I got to go through 100 interviews, reviewing 1,000 resumes. And I don't have time to do that. So I got to hire an HR to do that. So because once the person comes into your orbit in the traditional sense, you're committed to their livelihood. You're committed to their salary and their thing. And then to make sure you don't waste their time, if you ever have to fire them, you got to pay them a 3-month severance, all this kind of stuff. So basically, people are not freely able to enter the orbit or leave the orbit without huge amounts of friction. So Satoshi and meme coins are great examples of things that, okay, we just set it up and then boom, it just like proliferated. This is the ideas behind hyper Bitcoinization. So the concept here was I was no longer interested in building traditional products, no matter how cool these products might be, if they weren't going to be inspired by the concept of Bitcoin, or if they weren't going to be inspired by meme coin culture kind of a thing. So now that you can have this runes protocol, which allows for a pre-mine, which allows you to do things later with the tokens to incentivize, work nUSD holders or other people like that. But you could also leave a bit of the pre-mine out for anyone to inscribe. And you have this infrastructure. Instead of a New York Stock Exchange, instead of a centralized exchange, you have now on-chain DEXs. It might be a little clunky. It might be like PSBT, and the fees might be very high. Like Magic Eden's 1% fees. There's no bids. Remember how much I got criticized for that when we built a very similar looking like marketplace at RelayX. There was only offers. There was no bids, right? Yeah. But that's what Bitcoin is running on right now. But even though that's clunky, that is way better than any private share trading. Obviously in your brokerage account, you can buy and sell your stocks, but in private share trading, you got to go through an OTC broker and like have the right of first refusal. It's called a ROFR by a private company CEO to allow you to sell your employee shares to other people. Then you're kind of embarrassed because the accountant's going to find out that you are selling your company shares behind the scenes to people. Like the infrastructure on Bitcoin doing it this way is miles better. So if you have this secondary market, then not only can everyone join the idea via inscribing, you will see live feedback of what is the potential of this idea. And so that will make everyone in the team excited to build. And what you have removed is the traditional CEO who is thinking, that person deserves 1%. That person deserves 0.5%. This person we should fire. That person we should, tell him he should take a shower. He's coming to the office kind of stinky. Like you remove all this kind of stuff because we don't know who in this bank project owns how many tokens. Like a lot of people ask, what are you going to do with this 87.5% pre-mine? They keep on asking about that. But what they don't ask is, who is holding on to this current 6.25%? What is that mixture? It seems to be a bunch of blokes, randoms. I'm sure there's women who are holding this. It's like, why would you want that? You had a chance to raise from one of the most prestigious set of VCs. Why would you try to build something with these people? Like, and what Bitcoin's telling you is that because there's a market price, then, how many employees hate their jobs, but they don't hand in their resignation because they have some vesting shares that they want to leave on the table. Well, here, everyone's got their tokens. If they don't want to be involved in the project, they don't like where it's going, boom, click a button, I'm out. Someone else is in. So this is what's creating the real-time value that blockchain enables. So beyond just the stablecoin or synthetic dollar being on chain is the entire mechanics of the incentive structure of the project. That is what I think you want to focus on this show.
Yeah, 100%. So guys, pay attention to what's happening here, because this is a discovery in that Bitcoin has the mechanisms, market drivers, and incentives built within it to give the network itself automatic feedback as to what's happening and what's best for the network. So the creation, which in my opinion is more of a discovery of a synthetic dollar, of a stable coin that lives on chain. It's a discovery. To me, it's a discovery. This was going to be discovered as a possibility and as something beneficial for the entire network of Bitcoin sooner or later. But through happenstance, whatever, it came out into the market through you, Arthur Hayes, the Athena people, like with their own input in their own way from Ethereum.
Yep.
And now we have this in the market. And the cool thing about this innovation is that now every future innovation can look at BAMK and say, we can deploy on chain in the same way that BAMK just deployed on chain, meaning that you're really deploying something to Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin values it, boom, right away. The last sentences and exchange that you and the block runner guys had was very interesting. How did you find out about us? And the block runner guy said, well, because we see this as something very necessary. There's even a meme going around this, like very important, very necessary, he said. Like, we see this as something beneficial to us. So it was obvious that we found you because we're all part of the same network. We're all Bitcoiners, part of Bitcoin. So
yeah, the funny thing is I know them. We know each other, but they found the project and we intersected by looking at the chain. Yeah.
So I mean, if you were to ask me what hyper-Bitcoinization is, we just defined it. It is the coming together in the discovery of new applications that come forth from the Bitcoin protocol. And I think we're living it right now. So Satoshi Nakamoto did not have it as, I don't think he had it as clear as you did, but he almost like stumbled into it. And then he realized, shit, this is what I'm doing, because he was offered venture capital after the blockout and everything. And he desisted. He's like, no, I don't want venture capital. I want my adventure capitalists. I want my Bitcoiners to give me feedback.
Right.
I don't need venture capital. And so that to me was like, oh my God, he figured it out. He realized that he already has what he needs, and he just needs his Bitcoiners to keep giving him feedback and for each other to compound on building with one another. One of the ordinal wallets guys, I think it was Harry, said something very key when BAMK first came out. He said, and I even screenshot it and everything, to me, it was like, oh, wow, like hyper-Bitcoinization, right? That moment to me was like, holy shit. Like, he said, there is no one, there could be many, he said, there could be many different BAMK teams. And we talk about that. So using BAMK and using the Nakamoto dollar, nUSD, many different teams can spin up any of Bitcoiners using the same modality, using the same meme coin, governance token, and stable synthetic coin to do whatever they want. What does that mean? What did Harry mean by that?
Well, I think he means that if the supply is out there to be acquired, and you know that the people who want to use this protocol are holding these tokens, then you could build for this community and you're not the deployer of the BAMK token because they don't need, again, to be granted by the CEO an allocation of tokens. They already have the tokens. They love the project and they inscribe. So it's like, just because Satoshi created Bitcoin doesn't mean Satoshi needs to make the Coinbase. Someone else will come in and make Coinbase and bring tremendous value to Bitcoin. So I think that's part of what he meant. And then once nUSD exists on chain, that again springs forth a lot of different builders who are like, oh, having that on chain makes my product better because my lending and borrowing protocol can use like a synthetic dollar as collateral for lending and borrowing. One less thing I have to build. So the jigsaw pieces can fit really well together. And I think this one is really gets at people because what do people look at in the traditional crypto space as some of the biggest opportunities? Centralized exchange, stable coins, etc. Well, if there's DEXs now on Bitcoin, if there's tokens on Bitcoin, and now you have a synthetic dollar on Bitcoin, then that's the trifecta of what you're disrupting from like the crypto space.
Okay, can you name the trifecta one more time?
Well, I guess it's like miners, exchanges, and stable coins. These are the three businesses that have for a decade been the most profitable, longest standing things. Tether's been around for 9 years. Coinbase been around for 12, 13 years. Bitmain's been around for 11 years, right? All this other stuff is like, well, one day I use OpenSea, and now I don't use OpenSea. I use Magic Eden. Now I use ORSwap. I don't use ORSwap. And even these wallets, like okay, one day I use MetaMask, next day I use Rainbow, next day I use OKX Web3 wallet. So the three very sustainable business models have been mining, exchanging, and centralized exchanging, and like stable coins. And because they have network effects, especially with something like a synthetic dollar. So, is it the case that the past decade was dominated by USDT and USDC, and the coming decade might be dominated by Athena and BAMK? I'm not sure. We're obviously a horse in the race. I don't even think Athena would acknowledge us at this moment because they'd be like, we're doing all the hard work. Your stupid shit is backed by Athena. Our thing is, 1,000 times bigger than yours, 10,000 times bigger than yours. But, as of this recording, their token is now only about 50 times bigger, right? Because you got a $300 million $300 million FTV as of this recording for BAMK token. Athena, it's got a similar type of pre-mined versus circulating structure. They're at about 15 billion, which, if my math is not wrong, is about 50 times bigger than BAMK. But just even a week ago, 2 weeks ago, it looked like they were like 5,000 times bigger. Yeah. So this is the power of just get to Bitcoin first, and who knows what's gonna happen. Like, who knew, that selling a pizza was the best thing you could have done in 2010? If you're like, yeah, whatever, I'll just, I'm just trying to eat a pizza. I'm not really trying to make Bitcoins. Let me just get cash for it. If I'll separately study Bitcoin, a few years later I might buy some Bitcoin. That could be the difference between getting 10,000 Bitcoins for a pizza versus getting, even one Bitcoin for a pizza. It's a great deal, right? You got a Bitcoin for $20, $30, but the multiples are so different. So what Bitcoin is really saying is that there is value in your head. Whether you're the creator or not, it doesn't matter. If you come across someone else's creation, like I didn't create Bitmap, I didn't create ORDI, right? I didn't create any of this stuff, sub 10K inscriptions. But if you come across something and you're able to identify that there's value, Before, it's like, I got an idea. Let me tell my friends about the idea. Let me get my advisor, my mentor to think about the idea. All right, next week I got a trip to San Francisco. I'll make sure to hit up some VCs and tell them about the idea. You don't really mind, like waiting 2-3 weeks to get things started, even months to get things started. Because as long as you don't tell anyone about the idea you think is still in your head, you can still capture the value later. But now you have this concept of like a Bitcoin brain, Bitcoin shared consciousness. So if you have identified an idea that exists on chain, like, oh, I see an idea called ORDI, it's on the chain already, then that means other people are looking at the chain and they're thinking as well. And even if 999.9%, whatever, 99.99% people think this is the dumbest idea ever, just like I'm sure that at the time the pizza transaction happened, many people had heard about Bitcoin, but they think this is the dumbest thing ever, right? They never thought about selling a pizza as having a real utility, because Bitcoin had been around since 2009, January 3, for over 16 months. 16 months of no economic activity, right? Means people were fading it, right? But if other people, even a small sliver of people, like the idea, then the only way the ledger can keep a track record of who does the idea belong to is if you take it from I like the idea to getting ownership of the idea by getting the token. And this is why it's called inscribe and chill. Because if you can get the token, you can chill after.
Right.
And you can do your due diligence after. And maybe you'll sell it after. But if you don't first get the token and you go do some thinking, you're like, okay, this BRC20 standard is not good. Let me improve it.
Oh
then you
God.
miss the chance,
Yeah.
So yeah.
What a lesson to learn, baby. Woo!
It's a great lesson. It's a great lesson. I mean, normally you pitch an investor and the investor's like, yeah, I'm going to golfing this weekend. Hit me back up on Tuesday. I'll let you know what we think. Let me circle back with our team. I'll sleep on it.
Yeah.
And because of their brand of their venture capital firm, you need them to succeed. So you'll go wait until Tuesday for them, right? But now this thing that people are sleeping on, right? See, I think of Ordinals Asia. When I think about Ordinals Asia, I think about 20 people go camping, 100 people go camping, make marshmallows, whatever. And then you look at the computer in a huddle with 100 people, be like, what are you guys seeing on chain? What have you learned in the last 2 months on chain? What have you spotted? And then like real time, let's inscribe this, let's capture this, let's do this. That I think of it as a Bitcoin native conference. But when I went to Ordinals Asia, I'm thinking, man, I'm pretty sure that BAMK is already on chain. It's already trading secondaries. And I don't fault the fact that I'm not on a panel, because I never told the organizers I was going to be there. So it's okay that I'm not on a panel. But the people that were on a panel, half of them had projects that were ideas that did not yet exist on chain. It's like, oh, I want to build this, and I'm excited. Our roadmap is to publish a test net version in Q4, maybe do it in next year, Q1. And it's like, where is it on chain? So the social activities like conferences, conversations, like this conversation we're having is about something that already is on chain. I'm not doing podcasts with people about, I think synthetic dollars could be huge. Stay tuned. I might do it next year. Like, we're only having conversations after the things has already existed. Think about all the things we talk about, me and you. We talk about hyper-Bitcoinization, about Bitcoin that already exists. We talk about what's the future of ORDI or Bitmap. These things already exist on a token. And increasingly, people are not going to have conversations about crypto, about things that don't yet exist on chain, because I don't know if this is a waste of my time or not. But here, before you invite me on the show, you can already see what the BAMK token is trading at. And quite frankly, if it never took off, this show would have never happened. So these things happen to accentuate what's already happening on chain. We are like commentators of observing what is happening on chain. And I find that is to be the greatest edge that we have. and people that subscribe to this thing called Luniversity or whatever, this is the edge that we have. This is our philosophy. And that's different than anything that existed before.
That's right. So how do you look on chain? People might be asking right now, Jack, I want to look on chain. What app do you recommend? What website? How can I keep track as to what's happening on chain?
Well, the first thing to do is, if you don't know how to look on chain, you do know everything else that you're doing that's related to crypto that's not on chain. Just cut those things, right? So, it's like intermittent fasting is better than changing what you eat, specifically your diet. It's like, just stop eating. Then you're already halfway there. And then you can figure out what you want to add into your diet. So the first thing you should do is cut all the activity that you're doing, like traveling to conferences, networking, Zoom calls, looking at pitch decks, making pitch decks. You cut this stuff out of your routine, and you've already freed up 5 hours of your day, 10 hours of your day. I have great friends I know who are geniuses, who are like, Jack, I missed this mint. And I was like, what do you mean? I told you about it like last month. And they're like, yeah, but I've been traveling to Paris. I've been going to this conference. I've been going to these meetings. I've been making these presentations. And I was like, but why do you do that?
Guilty.
That's you, right?
I've been there. I messed up before because of that.
Yeah.
I've been there. Yes, I know the pain.
Everyone wants me to tell them, go to this website and then check the chain using this. And it's like, well, I know that's, even if I told you the website, you wouldn't even put that in your routine because the way you live your life is still boxed into this other way. So then you're like, I checked it once. I didn't see any alpha. I don't remember to check it again. So you got to put yourself in a mental state and a time schedule where you're like, you know what? If I need to work a 9 to 5 to provide for my family, keep doing that. I'm not saying, quit that and go look at the chain. I'm just saying, like, if you are trying to find alpha in a more traditional sense, then you gotta like cut that out of your diet and then do the on-chain stuff.
Jack, and then, I look at ORDI.io. Is that the place, or is there another one?
Yeah, it could be ORDI, it could be anything else. But that's only part of the solution. A lot of people, okay, you see ORDI.io, you see some ticker. Well, have you practiced setting up a wallet? Do you have 12 words? Have you ever inscribed? Have you ever bought something on the secondary? Have you ever sent this something? So like, it's not about how much you know about the Runes protocol. It's like, has your wallet interacted with the Runes protocol? That's the key, because you don't know how many more steps there will be from, Rune's great. I had coffee with Casey. He told me to be big. Yes, I'm happy that you know Casey. I'm happy that you watch his podcast, but do you know how to actually execute? And because when it comes time to actually execute, right? You got to make sure you're on the right wallet. You know what the gas fees are. A lot of people, they even try to inscribe BAMK, but they use too low a gas fee. And they didn't get it.
Ouch.
So a lot of these things, it's like, you got to be prepared. So I think there's like this idea of a blockchain school. Look at all the activities that we learn in our current world about making PowerPoints, business etiquette, following up with an email to the VC. All those things you're taught at MBAs and stuff. And that's not something you naturally did as a child. That's something you were taught how to do. And so we're entering an era where those skills are no longer applying to the Bitcoin era, because you're seeing innovation coming from all far corners of the world. These people are not calling you. They don't want your business card. They don't want a meeting. They're not coming over to Silicon Valley to set up their companies. So you got to be meeting people on chain. And the best business card you have on chain is to also be a builder, because now you've also seen how that whole process works. I could go on forever, but I'm not trying to give people advice like as if I'm better than anyone. I'm just trying to share my personal journey, which I realized over time, just like you, we've been in this industry a long time. We felt very lonely for a lot of the ideas that we had. And when we had less experience and we had less conviction, that loneliness led us to be more conformative in doing things the old way, because those people are very respectful as well. Like, they've done great in this industry as well. So, but as the rate of change has caught up to some of our original visions, now it's time to really bet on the on-chain economy. That 3 layers that we talked about: Well, you remember the second layer of a kind of crypto economy was like semi-fiat, semi-on-chain.
Yes.
Remember there's a fiat, fiat
The
at the
off-chain
bottom,
economy, off-chain.
off-chain economy. That's where all the stable coins were in that graph, right? Graphic.
Yeah.
But now, because it's the invention by Arthur Hayes, even stable coins via synthetic dollars can move into the top echelon, which is the pure on-chain way, and that adds to such the size of the on-chain economy.
Hey, shameless plug, the On-Chain University, and it's not because it's my baby, it's the Crypto Vigilante, like hands down, guys. Hands down. I would be part of the Crypto Vigilante if I wasn't running the Crypto Vigilante. That's how much this community is awesome. The synthetic dollar, Jack, give us an explanation of what the heck a synthetic dollar is. A lot of people still think it's a algorithmically pegged stable coin. What is it?
Yeah, it's basically, instead of putting dollars in the bank account, you're creating a synthetic dollar by taking one unit of the asset you hold, let's say it's Bitcoin, and you go short on derivatives exchanges, hopefully on-chain exchanges, 1 unit of Bitcoin, so that your net position is called in finance delta neutral, as in if Bitcoin goes up, your position's flat. If Bitcoin goes down, your position's flat. Now, why in the world would you put on this kind of position of like, it's like buy an iPhone, sell an iPhone? It's like, what's the point of this? I don't have an iPhone, right? Well, the reason you do this is because people desperately want to borrow Bitcoins to go long on futures using leverage. So they're willing to pay an interest to the people who supply them with this Bitcoin who are short. But of course, if the people who bet long are right, the short people will get margin called or whatever. Normally, if you're naked short versus naked long, whoever's right, it's like a coin toss. One guy loses, the other guy wins. But here, if you're short an equivalent amount of Bitcoins that you actually hold as collateral, you created a world where you don't gain from Bitcoin going down or up. But what you do gain is that positive interest that the person who just wants to naked go long the futures is willing to pay you, the person who's short. But you're not actually short because you're holding holding a spot Bitcoin position. That yield, that trade has been popular in crypto for 10 years. And Arthur Hayes' blog post talked about creating a token for this position size that you have on that trade. So if you got, $100,000 worth of the position on both sides of the trade, you now create a token with 100,000 supply. And that allows the yield potentially to be kept by the protocol or passed on to the token holders, just like Tether has a yield that they get from the bank for 5%. It's their choice to keep it and be the most profitable company in crypto, or they can pass it on to USDT holders. But the beautiful thing about this is that the yield in Tether is set by the central bank, is 5%. And now the US economy might not be growing very much. They're talking about rate cuts, so it might be 4% soon. But crypto economy is growing very rapidly over the years. So its implied yield and demand for borrow is much higher. So historically, it's like 10, 20, 30%. So that allows more profitability per unit for the protocol and potentially more to be passed on to the token holder. And so there's an economic reason why this is better. And there's also a structural reason, which is it's all living within the crypto ecosystem instead of going to interact with the banking ecosystem. So the BAMK token is just a reward token or a meme token that is issued to hold nUSD, but the underlying stability of nUSD is not reliant on whether BAMK token's FTV is high or low, or if BAMK token crashes 90%, that is not why nUSD will fail. nUSD is backed by, like I said, these delta neutral perpetual positions that's holding a neutral position, right? So that is the ultimate difference, is that some of these algorithmic stablecoins, their stability was backed by the protocol token itself. It wasn't backed by neither dollars or a delta neutral trade in the case of synthetic dollars. Is that helpful?
Got it. Sounds good. So stage 2 for BAMK and the Naka dollar nUSD is going to be that you're not going to be using Athena anymore. That, if I understand this right, you're going to be using your own mechanism that lives on Bitcoin, BTC, correct?
Yeah, we're hoping that people are going to come up with a lot of perpetual swap marketplaces. We think that's going to be built very soon. Likely not by us, but there's a number of builders. And if for a long time, if the growth is really high and Athena will become too big a percentage of Athena, I usually say 10% of Athena is where you start thinking about, okay, well, we don't want to just be backed by Athena. Um, uh, Not because I think being more than 10% has risks. It's more like, well, if you're 10% of Athena, you got significant scale as a protocol. Now you have the resources to go build this stuff yourself. So at that point in time, if Bitcoin's still not ready with these perpetual swaps, which I'm highly confident it will be, you can always still do the centralized exchange trade yourself, or you can do this on derivatives on-chain on Arbitrum or on Solana. You could do it on other blockchains if you were really keen to do the on-chain way. But the holy grail is to see something on a Bitcoin L1 or Bitcoin L2 that allows you to have perpetual swaps on-chain.
And the nUSD already is on BRC20 and Runes, correct?
That's right.
So it can adapt to any token protocol on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Atomicals. Have you thought about doing it on Atomicals?
Absolutely. It's a good friend of ours. We both knows that created Atomicals. Still kicking myself for not getting a piece of the Atom token, but I think the Atomicals, one of the reasons we didn't do it up front is they didn't have an increase in burn mechanism. Neither does Runes, actually. So maybe we should take a look at Atomical again. But we're just looking at all the protocols that are like adopted, widely adopted. And right now, the developer tooling for Runes is really good. There's a lot of like FUD about how maybe Unisat might be centralized or something, or the indexers are more centralized. Well, Casey, as he did once again with that he did with Ordinals, and now he's done with Runes, he's got great simple tooling that Harry has told me about from Ordinals wallet. And so Runes is getting a lot of developer mind share right now. It's getting very adopted. So we think this is going to be the winning one on Bitcoin. But again, if it's not, we can issue on a third one. By the way, I want to talk about this Ordinals wallet. From the days of Twetch and RelayX, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always been great friends, but never worked together, right? And don't you see how, like, with this BAMK token and the fact that it's open to anyone to participate, this is like the first time we had a chance to work together.
Really? That's badass, man. Well,
crazy.
Congratulations to you and the homies, the Twitch homies. That's really cool, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool to hear. I didn't know that.
Nice font, that nice font for BAMK.5. I think that's designed by
that's
the
Randy?
designer at Ordinals Wallet. Yeah, Randy.
Nice, dude.
So little bits of contribution here and there is like you said. I'm so glad you gave a shout out to all those people that Mr. Fireside, Axie, all those people because
dude, even Snooki. Shout out to Snooki, bro. She's holding it down. Not gonna lie, all the homies. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they're when you ask who's on the team, I mean, how can you say they're not on the team? It's like everyone's on the team.
Well, I'm definitely on the team. Shit, this is awesome. I mean, it's beautiful because it's like now I see the way, right? Like I didn't know the path exactly, but now I'm like, oh wow, that's the path. Like, okay, there was an idea called hyper Bitcoinization. And then that idea was like, all right, well, we're going to have convergence because all of crypto converge in ordinals. So we have now a proven track record that we can point and say, yo, convergence is there. But now it's like mega convergence we have BitMEX. Now the Twitch homies. On top of that, now you have like David Bailey of Bitcoin Magazine and UTXO management. Everyone is converging. And so this phenomenon that is happening with BAMK is very unique, man. I think this is something that scholars in the future are really going to study, bro. Like this is the point in time. This is a point of inflection. I really think, Jack, and I'm being honest, bro. This is a point of inflection in Bitcoin history. You said 24 hours. And I had people come at me saying, dude, that Jack Liu guy better apologize. He said 24 hours. He told people that it was going to happen on BSV, or at the very least a hedge. What the fuck? And now he's back at BTC. What's going on? Raf, don't you think your guy Jack owes people an apology? What's going on, man? Because like, what's up, bro? What's going on?
Well, I can tell you this, I haven't touched my holdings. So where I'm building is independent of where my bags are. Not to say I don't have bags on BTC, but like from my perspective, I'm glad you asked the question. But you gotta think a few steps ahead, right? If you can bring everyone on chain and they're using the chain all the time, doesn't that bode even better for variants that can scale that? So if you couldn't convince people to come directly to the chain that you're speaking of, then why not bring them to the place that they want to be, but then they're going to require the scale later on. So that's your best shot. Now, the other thing about nUSD is people are clearly protocol agnostic. So if you think about you're trying to earn bank rewards, right? Do you care if you hold a BRC20 or if you hold a Rune? No, because you're earning the bank rewards. Whereas other tokens, they only live on one protocol or the other. Like there's no ORDI on Runes. There's no dog on BRC20, but nUSD is on both. So just extrapolate down the line. I don't want to give it away, but like, could you Tether wasn't launched on Tron first, but now Tether is very popular on Tron because it's fast. It's super scalable. So you rather withdraw and deposit from exchanges using Tether Tron than using Tether ERC20.
Right on.
So what happens? Obviously, right now, when you're choosing between protocols within BTC, which they might have different, changes, but they both live on BTC where it's not as scalable. For the people that you ask that question, what happens later on if you can do the same nUSD somewhere else?
Right. And the thing is that like BTC is the mother house, of all of crypto.
Yeah.
That is where everybody is truly invested. That is the home. So you have to serve people there. And the path of hyper Bitcoinization has to happen there. That is the starting point. At the very least, you have to say that's the starting point, and it could very well be the end. But I agree with you. Because it's
if you look at UTXO Management's Twitter bio, it says they're basically investing in hyper Bitcoinization. That's what UTXO Management's Twitter says.
That's badass.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's just everyone's free to try and trigger it on whatever chain they want to, and you can make your own judgment which chain is going to win that race. We don't know, but I think anything that pushes the space forward is progress, because from success or failure there comes learning, and that learning guides people to the next thing and the next thing. So I just encourage everyone to keep pushing things forward and be willing to try.
So do you still think that come that part of the S curve, as we move into hyper Bitcoinization and everything expands, you still think that it's going to be like a 24-hour moment?
Yeah, I say 24 hours. I mean, maybe it hasn't happened in 24 hours, but if you look at the tracker of some of the things that we built, we are the fastest in every category when we do them. It might not be as fast as 24 hours, but like the rollout of the BAMK project is pretty much faster than any of these other projects that are Bitcoin DeFi. Look at the rapid rise over a week or two. It's not 24 hours. Okay, fine. Look at how quickly the team together made OrSwap and provided Bitcoin with the first marketplace. That was like a 4 or 5 day build, took off in like a month or two, right? Look at other things happening in the space. The pizza token airdrop, the dog coin, everything's happening much faster, right? So you're talking about, did you onboard 1 billion people in 24 hours? No, not yet. right?
But the exponents are getting faster.
They're getting faster.
The
So
network,
ORDI took, yes, ORDI took more than a month and a half from the token deployment to reach 10 cents, a market cap of 2.1 million. BAMK took, what is it, a month and a week to go from still inscribing phase to a fully diluted value of 350 million.
Is there such thing? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Speed is faster, no?
Is there such thing as going too fast? For example, if I were to ask you, Jack, you kind of have a vision as to, like, when I think about you and everyone around you, I keep thinking of Aristotle, who said, the first thing in intention is the last thing in execution. In other words, you have an end in mind. You, like David Bailey, both of you, and Arthur Hayes, all three of you have an idea of what hyper-Bitcoinization is. They might not be exactly the same definition, but both of you, as all three of you as architects, you guys see an end in mind of like, that's my vision of hyper-Bitcoinization. That's my vision. That's my vision. And you guys build towards that. And the last thing in execution will be that 24-hour meme, that overtone window you expressed, that's where we're going to get to, and the whole world is going to converge on chain. When we're talking about creating on Bitcoin, if I were to ask you, or is this something, if I were to ask you, Jack, what do you foresee being the logical next creations within Bitcoin? So synthetic stablecoin, then the logical next step will be this, and then that, and then this, like putting Legos. If you were to put that out into the world right now, and everyone were to like listen to this conversation and jump in on every one of those ideas you shared with everyone and just go for it, is there a danger that may drive for there to be too much commotion? Because it's not that the blockchain is not capable of sustaining that. It's not that the network effects and the market drivers are not capable of harmonizing those incentives, but rather that we have not acquiesced as human beings to the speed of these exponential functions. Do you think then it's important to move slow from synthetic stablecoin to the next thing, or should we just all go in at once? Like, or is this something that is just naturally gonna bubble up? What are your thoughts on that? That's something that I'm very curious about, because there is a technological component and then there's a human component, and the human component does not it takes time for the human component to acquiesce to the speed of these exponents.
Yeah, well, number one, from a sort of state of mind perspective, if you want to keep this show going on for another 5, 6 hours, 8 hours, I can sit here with you for 8 hours. Even though there's some project that everyone's going mad about, like, oh, going up and down, growing super fast, I'm not checking my phone. I'm not like, hold up the interview. I gotta go check these calls. Things are on fire. So I got all the time in the world for you right now, Raphael. Right? So like, I'm not standing from a place of anxiety. Oh, we need to go faster. We need to get faster. And like, oh, he's not going to. To me, I've come to learn to enjoy the journey. There might be some destination that we're going towards, but why only enjoy the destination? Why not enjoy the journey? So I don't come from a perspective of, okay, what's after Bitmap? Well, it's been a year since Bitmap, and people haven't really heard about, me personally doing anything in this space. So it's just like, when the things come to you, go do them. And like I said, the reason why it's growing is not because of our team, is maybe we know how to apply ourselves to Bitcoin to let Bitcoin grow for us. So that's kind of our approach. Now, when you talk about social implications of fast growth, I can point to you a couple of examples. specifically ChatGPT. When ChatGPT 3 or whatever it was, I don't know if it's 3 or 4, it was the one that really took off within 30 days.
Yeah.
Overnight, everyone's just like, oh yeah, I use ChatGPT now. Okay, that's cool. Even though what they're using is something that didn't exist 30 days ago, 6 days before, like last winter, right? Two
Right.
winters ago. Because the human ability to like adjust is so high. Like if you were stranded on a boat, on an island, you know, you will figure out how to grow bananas and pick coconuts. Like you will figure out how to survive. Like the instinct of humans to adjust is very high. It's just they don't want to adjust to something that doesn't fit them. But when something, the best products, right? The things that go viral are the ones that people secretly desire. This is what Steve Jobs said. Like his customers don't know what they want before he makes them, but after he makes them, he delights them. And because it's delightful to use ChatGPT, it's delightful to use an iPhone, you could literally, the day before the iPhone's in your hand, be like, I would never use the iPhone because I need a keyboard. I need to write real emails. But that thought can switch the moment they hold an iPhone device within about 10 seconds. And they're like, you know what? I like the iPhone. And from that moment on, no one ever bought a phone with a physical keyboard again. So if you can give the people something great, the society change will almost feel like it was there all along. People won't even believe. People won't even believe that they used to use things that are not on the blockchain. You know, so you should ask, how do we remember the old world? Not how will people be able to adjust to the new world? That's the other concern.
So what's the answer to that one?
I don't know. Just like live in the moment. Forget about the old world. Who cares? Like, just stay in the moment and look to the future. Forget about the past. I mean, you know, once in a while you can watch the BlackBerry documentary, and I watched that. It was fun. You know, once in a while you can watch like, you know, that the movie called Air about how Michael Jordan's mother. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, how she got him a royalty deal, and that's again, it's like you can make money from a single owner paying you a salary, but no matter how good you are, you're bounded by these 30 humans in this one league that is willing to pay you, you know, $10 million a year, $30 million a year. But if you can get a cut of every single sneaker sale, you're earning from 1 billion people a year or 100 million people a year. So the most profitable businesses, whether it's McDonald's or Coca-Cola, you make money from people who are less fortunate than you, smaller in size than you, and getting them all to contribute. That's how you benefit. Just like Satoshi Nakamoto benefits from potentially billions of people using Bitcoin, who have less Bitcoin than him, but somehow he's made Bitcoin protocol, even though he has 1 million Bitcoins, still the best choice. People who are just buying their first 0.01 BTC or something like that. So it's about not looking up. When you raise from VCs, you're looking up. You're like raising money from someone richer than you. When you try to make your protocol open and happy to welcome inscribers, you're looking to onboard people who are most likely smaller in your project. And because they're smaller, they're not asking you all kinds of tough questions like, oh, what? Who's your CFO? Oh, what school did they graduate? Oh, not Stanford? I don't think you guys can raise in the future, because you're onboarding people smaller. So there's always more people. And as you grow, you become bigger, and then you can onboard people who are the new smaller than you. My business development, back when I was just a sales guy, right? I was like, this is my number one formula for doing sales, is only sell to people who's smaller than your business. Don't ever spend time selling to someone who's bigger than your business. Get customers who are smaller than your business, get a lot of them so your business gets bigger. And now all of a sudden there's a lot more businesses that are smaller than you. And then keep on doing that until you're the biggest business in the world. And then you can sell to everyone. But if you keep on thinking, if I just land this one client, if I just land this one check, then I'll make it. you're failing to see all the other beautiful things that you can do.
Jack Liu. Dude, I don't know what else to talk about. I am just enjoying the ride. I really am. Thank you and thank everyone. I don't know who the heck is behind. Thank Arthur Hayes for us, David Bailey, the UTXO management crew, Ordinals wallet team, the Relay X team, maybe even the Haste Arcade crew, like everyone that may have been involved in some way, shape, or form in giving us BAMK, and all the homies, like we named them already, Rohit, Crypto Fire Chat, even the influencers that have come on, which is really awesome, dude. It's like
Francis, Farmer Joe, all these guys,
yeah. So like
Mark Jeffrey,
Runner, who's there's a bunch of people. So dude, like it's awesome to see that. Like, in the early days of Bitcoin, we would talk about the money aspect of Bitcoin as being the first application of the Bitcoin protocol. And what we're realizing is that this is the method, the formula to discover together and work on newfound applications, new discoveries, new applications of the Bitcoin protocol. It's so cool, dude.
Yeah. I mean,
really
there's a lot of
cool
work to be done. And obviously, this is a special episode where we're talking about all this vibrational type of stuff. But, when it comes down to the actual work, there's a lot of things to still be done. And, I don't want this to feel like a celebration. There's really nothing to celebrate. It's just a moment between me and you, just like having done this for a long time. I'm really happy that you're happy for us. There's a lot of people in this project that have been grinding for a lot of years.
Really?
Like, like CZ has a great quote, right? What you see as overnight success is a result of like decades of failure or whatever that means, or preparation. And without all those contexts and all those learnings, you don't just cook something like this. So hopefully this works, and maybe this won't work, and then you have to move on to the next. But that's kind of our mindset. And this journey is what's valuable. Whether the token price is worth a lot, does it make you a millionaire? Does it make you a decamillionaire? Whatever, make 100K. Honestly, as you know, time is the most valuable thing. So
right on.
As long as we're doing something new and exploring a new frontier, I'd rather be the person that fails the first time in a new way than the person who succeeds the old way. Just because that's the way I like to spend my time. So
that's beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Jack.
All right, thanks, Rafael.
I'll see you again. Peace, love, anarchy. Now we are dealing with a possible world war. Some will say we are already in a world war. My condolences and prayers go out to everyone suffering under tyranny. It really sucks. I'm really sorry. But it seems as if people are starting to wake up regarding crypto more and more each day. And so it's in the description right here to read, where we give our secret sauce and what we teach our subscribers, because things are just that bad. Everyone needs this information. People need to know about sound cryptocurrencies that are actually private by default, and to know how to properly use crypto.